Hey there everyone, welcome to a brand new video. Today I'm coming to you from a place that I've been meaning to come to for a long time, but I finally made it here. That is known as the Reading Railroad Heritage Museum. It's down here as we walk across the street in Hamburg, Pennsylvania, right near Reading, Pennsylvania. And they have stuff inside and outside, including a yard. Myself and a few others are here, so you will see them in the video. But this is gonna be pretty exciting because they have a lot of great pieces. On the inside, they have a little gift shop with some actual trains you could buy, shirts, DVDs, books of the sorts. But we're gonna take a walk inside, check out what's inside the gift shop area, then make your way through the indoor part museum and later on the outside, because they have a lot of cars out there that are gonna be pretty interesting to check out. I don't know what to expect, but the only way to find out is to come along with me. So here we are on the inside of a little lounge area, kind of sitting area, some toy trains for the kids, some photos, other things to check out. And Jamie's already checking out the N scale layout, so we'll check that out too. Run some trains around. Conrail, CS6, NS, and some PRR, even a DG1. I like a coffee mug. And a cat there, and a cat there. You guys know where that's from? That would be Chessie system. So they do have a theater. They do have a video you can watch, kind of giving you an introduction to the museum. It is free to watch. All you have to do is let me know at the counter if you do want to sit there and watch it. We're going to pass on that today just to make the most of our time. We're now on the museum part inside the building here, and just going to show you some bits and pieces here and there. I'm not going to show everything because obviously I'm going to want you to come here and see it for yourself, but I mean a lot of things related to the Reading lines, since this is the Reading Railroad Museum. And oh, I do see a G-scale train layout over there running around. Control panel was used to control something and it changed on me. So there's a picture of like an operator sitting here. So yeah, it's like a switchboard. Make sure all the trains are going on the proper rails and to keep in touch with engineers and or conductors or the nearby stations as well. Display case here showing some of the pieces that they use to work on the rails and the equipment itself. Some big wrenches, inspectors, gauges. There's a journal oil can, which is for the journal boxes on the trains, which is where they kind of oil the pad inside the journal box to keep the bearing there from overheating and causing a fire. Track bolts, tie plates, rail gauges, tie plugs. Now, this is when a lot of it was all done by manual labor, no maintenance of away equipment. Let's see, will I fit? Okay, I'm definitely not gonna be able to sit in there, but it's about as close as I could get. All aboard. A little child-sized locomotive, number 102, but above that, with a shining light, is 2100. Got a mock front end of a big steam locomotive here with the Reading Lines symbol on it. But I'm more interested right now in this right here. This is pretty neat. They have a neat little G-scale layout here. And for what they have, for the size of it, it's not badly detailed. Looks like maybe an RS unit running around there, Reading. Pulling a mixed consist here. Box cars, 2 box cars, coal hopper, covered hopper, and the caboose. We do have a mountain scene here at the Hometown Hardware, the folks sitting on the swing there. And there's the bridge with the arches. And the lower track looks like it's a passenger train running around, so we're gonna see it come by again. We'll do some rail fanning here. stand down here by these folks, not get in their way. Number 2005 Reading steam locomotive there. It's in Reading Company coach cars. So G-scale is pretty much the largest scale you could buy for model layouts. And it just shows that you could have something decent for not a lot of room, because obviously they take up a lot of room. You could get really expansive, but this is more or less about the size of my layout. And they're running 2 G-scale trains with some mountain scenes, some buildings, even a water tower here. Really neat. Make sure to let me know which one's your favorite. Do you like the steamer running around with the coach cars on the bottom, or the mixed manifest on the top? If you're a fan of the Reading Railroad, this is definitely a place for you. Baldwin Locomotive Works out of Philadelphia, number 175. And here's like an artist rendition. 2 old-time passenger trains passing by. One on the bridge, one under it. And for those of you who like HO scale, well, they have you covered. Don't worry, they have a pretty big HO display. It says travel with this HO. Let me zoom in for you guys. HO scale model railroad to the landscapes where the Reading Railroad traveled in the early 1950s. Rivers, farms, mountains, coal regions, towns, and manufacturing buildings were found throughout the areas served by the Reading. I'm going to keep it on wide angle just so we have more to take in the image, but you can see we have a strip mining operation here. It is coal country after all, and that coal is what fed the steam locomotives. We got something coming right here. Let's get down a little closer here. Like another RS unit, 2 of them, pulling a mixed manifest freight train there. Everything from tankers, boxcars, hoppers. And here's a coal yard. Got some loaded coal cars sitting here. And signs of a plant expansion. So back in the 1950s, you know, coal was thriving, and so were the coal companies. A bridge area here going over the creek. Nicely detailed, a lot of greenery and scenery, some buildings mixed in, some farmlands up here. Even the age era appropriate vehicles. Got a classic car there. It looks like a old military truck used as a farm truck now. John Deere tractor sitting by the silo. Little town area here, the church, general store, drugstore, and again, era appropriate with the vehicles and the buildings. So very attention to detail oriented. There's even a little guy in the rowboat down there doing some rail fanning from the river. Help preserve the past for the future. Do not touch. Doesn't say you can't sit here, but here's a desk where someone would sit. They have, I guess, an early model adding calculator, old style phone they hold up to the ear, coffee pot, desk lamp here, and some articles about the Iron Horse rides again, Reading Railroad magazine, Reading brings back steam and passengers, and some old Iron Horse Ramble advertisements here. So just one of the many photo opportunities you could get here, so I'll take advantage of it right now. Something neat here, which is going to be a good visual for those who are curious about coal production and how they sell it. It says coal can be purchased in various sizes. Each size had a name. Can you see how some of them got their names? So starting off on the left here, barley, very small, fine pieces of coal. Rice, followed by buckwheat. Then we got pea, nut, and stove. And that is processed coal ready for sale for either industries or homeowners. Looking at the other side of the HO model layout here, A lot more to see over here. What's that? Aunt May's Eats and Treats. Got a coal dock here, so you can see the loaded coal car sitting on that, and they will drop the coal through the hoppers, and then they would come and get it ready for processing there. Even a rail yard here. Only one train running, but it's better than nothing. Penn Line Manufacturing Company with the stacks right there in front of us. Error appropriate passenger bus there, Kennedy and Johnson. Got a wholesale produce store. Minuteman Service, full service gas station. So even a passenger station here with guests waiting for their passenger train to come. And behind that, we got kind of downtown area with Nick's Pickles, Pete's Meat, Patrick's Pub. I'm sensing that they kind of are going in conjunction with the names. And a movie theater with the African Queen now playing. This home here is getting some work done on it with some contractors and some scaffolding. And a nice little home site there with 3 homes. And they're even doing laundry in the backyard, hanging clothes on the clothesline, and a beautiful teal colored car. Right next to the HO layout, they do have kind of a cutaway of a signal. And typically that's all you would see on the rail line. But you have it exposed here. You can see the different lenses where the light is showing through. And it's pretty neat to see it's actually that complex inside. It's not just the light and a colored shade. It's more to it than that. Right next to that, we have almost a rideable size train here. Number 179 Reading unit. Looks like it's a 462 wheel set. And just putting my hand to it, you can see the size of it. You know, it's pretty large. Oh, actually, I think this is it right here. So yes, this might actually be rideable. There's a car to sit on behind it to operate it. Yeah, this is an operating train. That's pretty neat. They have a picture of it when it was in operation right there. 1-inch scale model of George Hoops. And even these cars are gargantuan, but would be so neat to see running around. Just a miniature scale, but fully detailed train here. And of course, they do have some other things here behind it, up above it. Highland Valley Naomi private car. Almost looks like it's ready to go down the rails. Even got curtains in the windows and all sorts of details. Lanterns on the corner there. So on top of the safe here is a neat little diorama. It says this is safe from the Pottsville train station. It's a little diorama with an old-time steam engine, tender, and caboose, PRR. And just a little mock scene here with looks like a signal tower maybe. Backdrop of some farmland, and they're going over a culvert. Sorry about the glare on this one. This says a century of progress in rails, and just shows how the rails have progressed and the different sizes based on their weight. 80-pound, and you can see the rest here. 25, 30-pound, that'd be probably for narrow gauge. And some massive 140-pound rail. So we'll come through these doors here to outdoor display yard. And I believe we may be getting a tour of the yard as well. They do offer free tours, but you can also go out there at your own leisure. But if we hear from an expert, it'd be even better. So there's various display pieces here. Locomotive headlight. See the size of it. Star Headlight Company. B-line service. This is from the Race Street Tower. It looks like a microphone of sorts. It's like some very old but salvaged signing here. Why I'm Missing, Franklin Street, Nicetown, and Cold Run.
Okay, this is our 7-acre site. Over here, you'll see our rail preservation, rail car repair facility.
But they got a bit of everything here.
You can clearly see that
Wow.
the railroad or anything else, form follows the function. In other words, the form that a particular freight car or
So our tour guide just explaining some of the things here. I'm not going to record everything he's saying because you could come take the tour for yourself if you're over here. But he's explaining about the different types of cars, with that being a coach car, open hopper car for coal, and a covered hopper car, which used to be open. He said the Reading company put a top on it. It used to carry cocoa beans to Hershey. A lot of neat pieces here, all types of rolling stock, and of course locomotives. And there's a good sense of scale with everyone standing in front of number 6300. These are known as gondola cars. They're just open cars for carrying stuff loaded and unloaded from the top. And so this one here actually has part of the turntable. So there's a turntable broken down. And there's the actual mechanism. I believe you said that's a SEPTA passenger car, number 2113. So our tour guide stated this is his favorite locomotive here in the yard. That's the first generation of diesel electric locomotive. 1952, I believe, he said. So a few things I'm learning here today myself. So right over here, as I mentioned about number 621, I always known these as RS units because Delaware Lackawanna down in Scranton has RS3s. This is a GP7. I think it was, he said, General Motors that produced it. But in 1952, he did confirm. And over here is an Alco, the C630. So Alcos do run on Delaware Lackawanna. I believe their whole fleet is Alcos, American Locomotive Company. So a lot of different configurations, a lot of things you could easily get confused on. And I'll definitely admit when I'm wrong if I make a mistake, but I'm just really familiar with the shapes and styles of them. Don't necessarily know all the technicalities referring to them. This looks like it would be an F unit here. So fun fact number 5513, it's GP30, but is the very first GP30 ever made. So it has some historical significance to it. 1962 confirmed, very first one ever built. So this locomotive here is another RS3, number 485. He said it was used by a mining company up in Canada. Really poor condition, but still surviving.
LEM 2. And the LEM 2 stands for Locomotive Engineers Mobile Training Unit.
So he's explaining that this is actually a training car, a training simulator or classroom on wheels. It's got an air brake simulator, a brake simulator, and other things to learn, the ins and outs of operating locomotives.
Sat up there, and two of the rear brakemen sat up there and kept a lookout for a hot journal box. Because inside this is there's a brass fitting, but there'll be a rag, and the rag is soaked in grease, and that's what keeps that lubricated. When that does not, when the grease gets all burned off, it can heat up and break the axle, and then close the derailment.
This is a 1942 wooden caboose. He said it was built out of wood to save metal for the war effort. So this is 1942. Not as safe with wood, but cheaper to construct. And here's showing us the journal box and the cupola and the hand signals for when you have a hot box where the journal box dries up, starts smoking, and hopefully catching in time before it catches fire and burns down the whole entire car, since it is made out of wood. Got a more modern looking GP39-2 CSX 4317. Beautiful looking locomotive. See them running down in the southeastern part of Pennsylvania. I also see them out in Pittsburgh, running next to the along the river line there, downtown Pittsburgh, even Maryland too. But they run all over. But they do have one sitting here in the museum. So something rather unique. The line number 103 and the CSX is sitting on. It's actually on top of a pretty steep grade that goes down pretty significantly. And originally I thought that this was owned by Reading and Northern because, as you can see on the building there, it says Blue Mountain Reading Railroad South Hamburg Shops. Well, our volunteer tour guide did confirm and correct me that they own the building, but the cars here are owned by the Reading Railroad Museum. So the crane over here, that gondola car, the RDCs, which do run, but they have nowhere to run them. There's also in the distance a passenger car, box car, and another passenger car. So they do run, and they do have access to use these rails. They even have to drive through the building or push-pull cars through the building to reach other parts of their yard over here. So they are kind of sharing the property with Reading and Northern. But yeah, more cars down here. You can see from a distance, but he did confirm those RDC rail diesel cars do run. So we did see a wooden caboose. This is a metal caboose, number 92832 by Reading Red. And this one is open for us to go inside. Been in many of these, but we'll see how this compares to other ones.
Yeah, actually that was just a month ago.
I think when I was there.
Oh yeah, very similar to the one we rode on at the Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway. Got the coal stove here,
We used to go there every summer.
benches, the cupola,
Yeah, well, took our son there for his birthday.
little wash station.
November.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were all just up there a month ago.
Okay, caboose is divided into 3 sections. First section is the sleeping section, and the sleeping section is for the crew to sleep. This is the working section. There's 4 benches up here. They're not here now, and we will put the 4 benches back, but this is where the brakemen, the 2 rear brakemen sat and looked out over the train as it was rolling down the tracks, checking for hot boxes and what have you. Back here, where all the tools are. Okay, the next section is the third section, the living section, and this was the heat and was also the cooking section. And right up until they got rid of the cabooses, there were many conductors who were gourmet cooks, and they could cook up a meal that would knock your socks off.
So that was a really neat kind of tutorial about this 1936 caboose. So he did break it down into 3 sections: sleeping quarters, working area where they're basically monitoring the train, and your living area / office. So each area of the caboose has a purpose, including right back there, which I didn't show, but there is a little door that is the toilet, and the toilet drops right down onto the tracks. So if somebody went to the bathroom, it's natural fertilizer. It's also stated too, it's the least safe area of the train, because if you were to ever get rear-ended, whether it's made of wood or steel, you're not going to survive the crash. There's not really any protection. And he also stated too that it went from a 6-man crew, which is 3 men back here, 3 in the locomotive, to a now 2-man crew, just the engineer and the conductor. So it eliminated some jobs, but also made it safer. So right here is something rather unique, something I'm seeing for my very first time. It's known as a Fairbanks. Now this is a locomotive of sorts. As you can tell, it looks a lot different than your traditional locomotive. It's kind of cut in half, and it's for a very specific reason. It's known as a slug. That's because this is used for power, but it's not a powered unit. There's no engine inside of here. There's no engineer compartment. This is filled with sand, basically for weight, and it has traction motors. So they're able to hook it up to an operating locomotive and be able to use the traction motors for pulling power. So it eliminated the use of having to waste diesel fuel, and also just cheaper to run. But Norfolk Southern down in Allentown did donate this to them, and it's my first time ever seeing one in person. I've heard of them, but it's known as a slug, and it's just weighted down with either sand or concrete. This one is sand, and only has traction motors for power, which does have to be powered off another locomotive. So that's a very unique piece, and we'll see what we can learn about this one here. So this is an electric powered type of locomotive. It was used basically for shoving cars around Grand Central. So it's completely electric powered. I believe it was controlled from the front there. And it ran New Jersey Transit. You can see the color stripes there. I believe Penn Central, which is the teal color on the tank, and also Conrail. So it's been in use through multiple companies, and they're saying they're going to put some battery power to it to get it to move and use it maybe for demonstrations on the turntable. But yes, that is the control panel / cockpit right there. And they have mirrors on the side, but that is really unique. I've never seen that one in person either. A few more pieces here, another Reading caboose. It's almost like a Penn Central color. And we got an electrified car with the pantograph on it. Like a, I don't know if that'd be considered a doodlebug. Doodlebug might be the RDC. That'd be more closely related to a GG1, but this is a powered coach car. So we did mention this just briefly before, got some more information. This is built in 1932. Can you guess when it last operated? You may be surprised to find out 1990. Had a long lifespan. It's a powered, electrified powered coach car, and is made by Bethlehem Steel. So many of you are also familiar with that name. 2 traction motors, and it's a completely operable electrified coach car. But yeah, that's a long lifespan. Hard to believe that ran up until 1990, but I never would have guessed it myself. Doesn't matter how old I get, when I see trains, when I'm walking among trains, whether they're stationary, static, or operable, I just feel like a kid again, you know? I remember being a little kid, you know, looking up at the trains. I'm like, man, they're so big, so gargantuan, so powerful. I still get that same feeling. I mean, it may sound funny, but those of you that understand could definitely relate. But it's just, I just have a great appreciation for the railroad and the work that was done to get the railroads operable. And, you know, the work that is still done today, shipping, you know, goods across the country and around the world. But if you have anything that makes you feel like a kid when you're in eyesight of it or even thinking about it, feel free to tell me in the comments section. For me, it's definitely trains and amusement parks. All right, so right now the outside tour is complete. They are going inside. We've already been inside, so I'm hanging around here to talk to you guys for a moment to share a few things I did learn, which is pretty remarkable. So the site here where the museum is located used to be a working foundry, is a foundry plant. And a lot of the buildings are still original. They've also constructed some newer ones. But the museum here opened in 2008. It's been operating as the Reading Railroad Heritage Museum since that time, but before then it was a foundry, and a lot of things are still original. Some foundations, some buildings, but they're repurposed now, of course. Also, I also found fascinating, which I said also twice, right behind me there, that lead Reading Lines unit says RSG 14. You won't guess, maybe some of you will guess, but many of you probably won't guess the company that made that. Same company that made toasters and electronics, GE, General Electric. So that is a General Electric locomotive, which is not too common, at least to me. Another thing he stated too is out of all the locomotives here, many of them are in running operable condition, but there's 2 limiting factors as to why they don't run them. Number 1, it's costly. Diesel fuel, especially now, is not cheap. Number 2 is insurance. So they can't really bring guests or public up into locomotives to run them, start them up, but they do start them from time to time, I guess, just to get all the fluids moving, you know, make sure everything is in working order. But it's I'm kind of torn on that. It's like, it's neat to know that they still do run, but they don't go anywhere. They just sit here. The last thing I want to mention too is that our tour guide Riley, who did a fantastic job, stated that they are open to having volunteers here. So, you know, you could be a tour guide, you could help with restorations. There's a lot of different things that they are open to having as far as volunteers come. Even if you don't have experience, they could train you. But they do have a multitude of options if you do want to get involved with them. If you're local to the area, maybe if you're retired or just have a love for railroading, you could come here at the Reading Railroad Heritage Museum in Hamburg and be a volunteer and be able to get kind of hands-on experience with their incredible collection. But there is a little bit more I want to show you out here, so let's go check that out right now. Just to fill you in a few other things, the bus here is owned by, I guess, a private member. He just stores it here, so it's not part of the museum, but it is here for photo opportunities. Very similar to the one from the movie Speed. Got to keep it above 55. The back building there is a newer building. That is, I believe he explained it, a type of restoration shop. This little building here is a type of hall, and you can actually rent it out for birthday parties or little events. And that is part of the foundry buildings there as well. The tow truck wrecker in there is also owned privately, and they're just storing it in there. make our way around this path, they do have a little display area here. Some various pieces of tools and equipment, everything from plates, shovels, spikes, a switch. Looks like some miniature rail, like it's like really tiny narrow gauge rail, and the larger, bigger pieces of heavier pound rail. Part of an insulator there, private crossing sign, some gating from a fence, and some pulleys there. And off to our right is something that caught my eye when we arrived and walking out here. This is known as the Munchkin train or Munchkin Railroad. As you could tell, it's a little enclosed area here with really tiny track. Now, can you guess what runs on these tracks? They're known as crank cars or cranky cars. They actually have a very similar setup at Strasbourg, and even more famously for me is Knoebels. Knoebels has crank cars. So what do? You sit on it with your legs out in front of you, and there's a hand crank. You put both hands on it, and you crank to pedal yourself, crank yourself around the track. They were so much fun. I wish they had them for adults. I know I would pay at least $5, $10 to do that again as an adult, to ride on them. But the one troublesome fact with all of them, whether it's Knoebels, Strasbourg, or here, is they're very prone for derailment. Very thin rail, and the weight of a child on it could easily, dislodge it going around a turn and something like that. So he said they're a pain in the butt to run, but they are here for like birthday parties and stuff. But they do have a cranky car area. So one other thing I want to show you, which looks like a locomotive coming out of the building, is actually a simulator. I did state it's not open right now. There is an individual who does, I guess you could say, run it, but he said it's a really fantastic simulator. It's operable, and you can actually learn and pretend like you're operating a locomotive. It has all the controls that the engineer would be responsible for. So that is here too, as well as a beautiful mural here on the side of the building, which simulates a roundhouse. Various pieces of equipment peeking out. Some of them are idling. But yeah, they have a little bit of everything here. And as you look in the, I guess you could call it like a yard area, this is where you can see more remnants of the foundry. It's a concrete base here, various rails where pieces of equipment would have operated on, and where different things would have been stationed or anchored down. So it's not a rail yard, it's just part of the foundry. So some pretty neat history, knowing that it was a foundry, now a museum, but it still kind of pays homage to what it used to be. And here's a little shack as well. So right now, I'm gonna head inside, see if there's anything we missed. It's actually scorching outside, in case you're wondering. We're here on June 26th, I believe. No, today's Sunday. I think it's the 26th. If I'm wrong, I'll put the date on the screen. But it's about 90 degrees out, about 60% humidity. Wearing the hat so I don't get sunburned, but a little bit of a breeze, but it is, warm. I'm feeling it. Everyone else went inside to get some drinks to cool off in the AC, which I'm going to do now. But I believe if you were to come here, in the spring or fall, would probably be the best time to walk around. Now, they did state you can walk around the yard here at your own leisure, but they do offer a free tour. And I recommend taking it because whether it's Riley or someone else, they're very knowledgeable on not only the individual piece of equipment, but just little fun facts about, things that were done on certain cars, terminology, hand signals, stuff like that. So I learned a lot today, and I'm very appreciative that I took the tour and was able to kind of share it with you guys. But again, I'm only showing you guys a little bit. There's a lot that I didn't show. So you want to make sure that if you are in the Hamburg, Reading area of Pennsylvania, come here and check it out. It's only $7 admission. Can't really beat that. Well, I'm glad we came back in because I did miss a whole section here, starting off with the station agent's office. Inside here, they got a desk and some slots there for paperwork. Of course, the telephone, got the, I think it's like the telegraph thing there, which I'll zoom in to show you. Right there in the middle of the screen, that's how they kind of communicate back in the day with the kind of like SOS type thing, like on the Titanic. After we pass that, it brings you to another area with a lot of displays and photos. Reading Railroad served heavy industry. So it explains what would be in the various cars, box cars, hoppers, so on and so forth. in case you're ever curious about, you know, what gets carried or loaded in those particular cars. There's an old-time scale too, where they had to put the plates on it for the weights and put the item on there to balance it out. 8th Street Freight Station, Reading, Pennsylvania. And is that you? Yep, there you are. So that's a HO scale, obviously. Down here we do have some O scale with the B-line service there. The iconic yellow and green, which very similar to Reading and Northern that operates today. The painting here, back in the heyday, you can see the wardrobe choices back in the day with the women and the men, top hats, walking sticks, I guess not trench coats, but top coats. You know what I mean, but they're all wearing the dresses and the bonnets. And back out front now, building is right there behind me. Got cool off a little bit, got some water, so feeling refreshed at the moment. So everyone else, Jamie's going back inside, but everyone else is still inside, kind of checking it out, taking it all in. A few things I want to share with you is that, number one, the gift shop is actually pretty impressive. Not only do they have an operable N scale layout, which you could, play, which I did, push the button, turn on the lights, get the trains running. They have a little wooden train set for younger kids. They do have actual train cars for sale, HO and N scale, as well as shirts, books, DVDs, paintings. I mean, I have a little bit of everything, even coffee mugs. So although I didn't get anything today, it's good to know that if you do come here, they do have items you could take home to kind of remember your visit here, or just to have a piece of the Reading Museum itself. But as mentioned, they are open to volunteers as well as donations. So if you do want to help them out in any way, monetarily or with your time, you can contact them and get that set up for yourself. As far as what they do offer though, I will say it's not the largest, most impressive museum, but it's definitely worthy of a visit. For $7, it's really affordable. You got the inside sections. It's good to know they offer a free movie kind of introduction thing, and also free yard tours with the volunteers. And you really can't go wrong passing that up. It is included with your mission, so you might as well take full advantage of that. But I am pretty impressed though to know that they have such unique pieces out there, like that slug, that electric moving vehicle or train, not the vehicle or train, but that the electric powered one that was used at Grand Central Station. Very unique piece I've never seen in person for myself. And to know that most of them do operate, and they have plans to get a turntable installed to do demonstrations, and it's going to kind of get even better for years to come in the future. So I highly recommend it. If you've been here yourself, feel free to leave your thoughts down below. And if you are out of the area and only were able to enjoy it through the video, I'd also love to hear your feedback. Is there anything that stood out to you as far as, you know, a particular piece of equipment or anything that you learned today? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you did make it to this part of the video, I first want to thank you for not only clicking on the video to watch, but for making it to the end, because I do my best to make it as informative and entertaining as possible. And things that are related to railroading are passionate to me, and I tried to share it on to those who do appreciate it as well. With that being said, I'm not sure what else is in store for today, but I wanted to thank everyone that did come out. It was a plan we came up with a few months ago to come here together as a group and to experience it, and I think we all had a great time. Definitely got our money's worth, and I don't have anything bad to say about it other than I wish we were able to drive some trains or maybe go on the cranky cars, but other than that, that's out of our control. But with that being said, hope you guys take care, stay cool, stay warm wherever you are. If you want to see more train related videos, be sure to check out the link down below, as well as the link to their website if you want more information. Until next time, everyone, I'll see you real soon in the next video.